Hey, Centipedes! Today's show is brought to you by Regated. Political news, analysis, and opinions from Regated.com, the number one place for political discussion. Completely uncensored and unfiltered. Check it out at Regated.com. Now, let's start the show.
Our country has tremendous potential, but we don't use it. And what we really have to do is make America great again.
What is up, Centipedes? Welcome to MAGAPod, the only podcast dedicated to the idea of making America great again. As always, I'm your host, Mark Hammond, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. I'm psyched to be here. Just yesterday, I had my AMA with the Donald on Reddit, over 200,000 subscribers. Questions for me, it went great. And then afterwards, now if you weren't there, right after the AMA, I did the first ever Discord AMA. And you missed a great event if you weren't there. Now, I have links in the show notes page on magapod.com, so you can actually read through the AMA. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to record the live Discord AMA, so you actually had to be there to be part of that fun. So on today's show, we have a really great guest. We have Dr. Kelli Ward. She's a current candidate for Senate, and she's running against notable Trump hater John McCain. Now, a lot of people made a big deal about Paul Nehlen, who eventually lost to Paul Ryan, but this race in Arizona on August 30th is so much more important. This is a Senate seat that Dr. Ward could actually win. She is polling almost neck and neck at this point, and McCain's camp is even bringing out some of the big guns. They are trying to shut her down. Privately, the McCain camp calls her a female Trump and has done some terrible things, said some terrible things, like comparing her to a prostitute. This is literally the establishment trying to destroy a viable candidate because she holds Trump values, Trump-like values. We need more people like Kelli Ward. We need more people like Rand Paul. We need more people like Mike Lee. And to some extent, we need more people like the El Rato himself, Ted Cruz. Just wish he would, stop with it, stop with this crap. But he is a good conservative. He does stand with us on a lot of issues, but he does act like a little bit of an asshole. So, there's that. Now, but a Ward win could be huge for Arizona, and it really could shake up the establishment. It's way more huge than a Nehlen win could have ever meant. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this interview and meet Dr. Kelli Ward. But first, one thing, let's talk about the news. This has been in the news, and it's been on my mind, and it was part of a Twitter flame war that I was recently in. And I don't know if you know this story about Kurt Metzger, who is a comedy writer, kind of a shitty stand-up comic. He writes for Amy Schumer. And he's also a liberal. So just remember that. Just remember the fact that he's a liberal, because we're going to circle back around to that. So here's the story. So some random improv nerd out there, not him, some other dude, some random guy, he got banned from UCB Theater. Now, UCB Theater, this is a special group of improv nerds that want to be Saturday Night Live stars. So this is a group of improv nerds. One improv nerd was cast out. So this creepy improv nerd who was cast out, he got banned because a bunch of women alleged that he raped them. Now, they didn't go to the police. They didn't report this. What they went to is they went to the improv nerd group and they asked them to investigate. And that's where they lodged their rape complaints. Now, did this creepy improv nerd do something? Who knows? But the improv nerd group decides they're going to ban him. And then he starts getting banned at other places. He can't work now. And so all these, so he basically he gets banned from UCB, and then all the other places that indulge, bullshit like improv, they decide to ban him too. Now this guy is like blacklisted. Not because he did anything that we know of. It hasn't been proven. Who knows? These are just allegations at this point. So let's stop for a second. This is the classic feminazi agenda. This is the classic feminazi knee-jerk reaction. Someone is accused of rape, and it's time to rip them down. The victim, quote-unquote victim, see how we're already starting assigning labels right from the start? The victim is the victim. The guy is the monster who has to have his career ruined. He's not allowed to work. And they don't have to report to the cops. They can report to the improv nerd group. They'll do all the investigation because God knows they have a special victims unit at the fucking improv comic workshop. So now you're saying, Mark, what you're saying to me right now, I bet, is, Mark, bro, we know this story. It happens a million times a year. If you're a man in this country, you faced false allegations. If you've dated more than 4 women, guaranteed you've faced some kind of false allegation. I'm not saying you've been accused of rape. Maybe you have, or you've been accused of something that you know you did not do. And it's something that if it would have got out, it would have hurt you. Every man in this country has faced that kind of situation. I can almost guarantee it. So why am I bringing this up? Because it's not common. This isn't common. This isn't noteworthy yet. So here's the part of the story. So Kurt Metzger, again, comedy writer, shitty stand-up comic. Remember, he's not the creepy improv nerd who allegedly raped somebody. He's just a guy from the outside looking in. He's also a liberal little bitch who writes for Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer is one of the most toxic pro-feminist shows in existence, and he writes for her. Well, he sees improv nerd getting railroaded, and he starts to open his eyes a bit. And then he goes on a Twitter tirade. Now, I want to read some of these tweets to you. I believe what the TRP guys call this. They call this the anger phase. So let me read you just a little bit of what he wrote. So he was upset, and rightfully so, at the fact that these people who were claiming that they were raped were not going to the police. He said, and I quote, "You think I would dare ask my God, Lord Jesus Christ Nazarene, to provide any details or evidence of any kind before I believe in him or a woman? No, because that would be like hammering the nails into Jesus my Lord's feet or re-raping the victim's good hole or asking for proof in a murder trial." And then he had some more tweets. "Internal fucking rape investigation at UCB. What are they? The Catholic Church. I'm wrong to say fucking cops should be involved first? Question mark. I'm supposed to just say fucking guilty without even a detail of what supposedly happened. Oh, what? Goddess will be angry. Fuck you. It's a pleasure to be a hindrance to any kind of you worthless fake justice. Instead of leading victims to the police like you're supposed to, you lead them up your own asses. You can try to get me fired. You can try to impersonate me. You can send me a mean boo-boo tweet. It's utterly meaningless. My points are dead on." And it goes on and on and on. I mean, this guy literally bitched and moaned for a good time on Twitter. I mean, you could read through this. A lot of people, and what's funny is like no one's responding to these tweets. I jumped in there and I started responding to some of these tweets, and I started giving him shit just because I thought it was funny. And there was one person who was like, "Why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Oh, look, Kurt, you're one fan. He's upset I'm picking on you." So this is the anger phase. So this is a liberal guy, who's waking up to what's really going on. But here's what's funny. So liberal bitch boy here, he has worked to spread feminism in the mainstream and is now getting chewed up by the same fans who provided him the money to live and work and to be an obedient little cuck. But now that he's crossed the line, guess what his boss Amy Schumer said? Not but a day later, and I quote, she said, "I am saddened and disappointed in Kurt Metzger. He is my friend and a great writer, and I couldn't be more against his recent actions." Again, his recent actions being that he suggested that women, other than all the whining and bitching, he had a point that women should go to cops to investigate, not go to fucking improv groups to investigate. So she's upset by that, by his recent actions. And now the kill shot. "Kurt does not work for me. He is not a writer on my show. Please stop asking me about it. His words are not mine." Okay, that's a dude who just got blown the fuck out publicly. And now, oh my God, the irony gets even better. Because he was worried. Remember, I read the tweet. He's worried about he's going to lose his job. Well, he just lost his job. I mean, this is what Amy Schumer says. He doesn't work for her anymore. So that's it. So and now here's the real irony. Now the story is he claims that he told Amy Schumer to criticize him publicly, which I guess in his mind makes him some sort of white knight for Amy Schumer, but everyone knows what it makes him look like. It makes him look like a cuck and a coward. Here is a guy who obviously knows what's going on with the feminist agenda in this country. He has these opinions that almost every man in this country has, and yet he refuses to stand up to the monster he helped create, that he personally took a part in creating. You don't get to work for Hitler and then bitch about the concentration camps. But here he is, feminist writer now turned feminist victim. And what's even better is the feminazi cows on the left, still, they want more blood. It's not enough. They're not done with this guy. He may think he's done. They're not done. They are offended that now he claims that he told Amy Schumer what to say. This is literally the liberalism snake eating its own tail. Now, do I feel bad for him? Yes, on some level. He is a guy saying something that all of us know. We know that rape accusations can destroy a man's career, his family, his entire life. hell yes, police should investigate, not a fucking troop of douchebags playing pretend. So yeah, I can empathize with him as a fellow man, but he is someone who's worked for something, that Amy Schumer show, that is overly anti-male and that pushes this kind of agenda, this agenda that Twitter court is preferable to real court, that accusers should be believed and labeled victims, while the accused should be labeled a monster. He personally contributed to that narrative by working for Amy Schumer. So, you know what, dude? Sucks for you. Enjoy middling in shithole places all over the country and never working in TV again. Because this is how the liberals do people. They're going to punish you now. You're going to come out a month from now and you're going to give a contrite apology and you're going to hope that they will take you back. But they never will. You've just blacklisted yourself because you've spoken the truth to a bunch of fucking Nazis, a bunch of feminazis, and they will never, ever let you back in their club. Now, you can hear his response on his podcast, but it is god fucking awful. I don't even know if you want to bother listening to that bullshit. So many people are talking all over each other. It's like a clusterfuck. And he's got one female doing most of the talking, which, surprise, surprise, cuck is going to be a cuck no matter what. So, but to me, it's always good to see liberal on liberal crime. Now, let's move on to more pressing matters. Let's get to everyone's favorite part of the show, the MAGAPod mail hate bag. Now, we are flooded with BLM hate mail from last week. Regated.com, this show, the entire Trump movement has taken the BLM to task on social media and exposed the hateful rhetoric and lies they built their bullshit cause on. Now, we take screen snips, we basically call them out. We meme to win the presidency, and we troll our enemies into submission. This centipede is a predator. Okay, so first email, this is actually a PM. Both of the emails that I got today, these were PMs from people on Twitter. And anyone can PM me on Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter at MAGAPod, I'm not like one of these pussies out there. Anyone can message me. You don't have to follow me to message me. You got something you want to say to me, you can say something to me. I'll say something back to you. Don't be surprised. Don't be scared like Kurt Metzger's fans when you start spouting your fucking mouths and I respond right back to you because I'm not a little bitch. You come at me, you better bring it. So he writes, Dewan. Dewan is the first Twitter PM. He writes, "Fuck you, MAGA bitch. We're going to burn this whole fucking country to the ground until you give us what you owe." So listen, Dewan, I don't owe you shit, son. And it's not because I'm Hispanic. It's not because white people owe you something. No one owes you shit. So keep pushing this bullshit, because there will soon be such a blowback it'll make your head spin. I suggest, personally, my suggestion is to quarantine the goddamn area and let the people eat each other alive. Maybe that'll force the good people in that area to stop the negative elements that are so committed to crime and mayhem. And that would also be a good strategy for the Middle East. We don't know more refugees. You sit there and deal with it. You don't get to run away. You've created that problem in your community. Fix your community your damn self. Okay, next email. Again, this is PM from Twitter. It's from Courtney. Again, another BLM supporter. She writes, "I know now she's referring to she as Hillary, is not the right choice for president, but your candidate is a racist who wants to kill black people." So Courtney, I'm gonna put a pin in that right now. So I'm gonna, in the show notes to this episode of MAGA Pod, I'm gonna put a link to a recent Trump speech that he gave in Milwaukee that kind of explains exactly what's going on. This is about jobs and the economy. This is why BLM exists. It doesn't exist because criminals are getting shot by cops. Criminals have always been shot by cops. People who don't listen to cops get shot by cops. Look, I got a darker shade of skin. I get pulled over by the cops. I know better than to start spouting off, to start causing trouble, to escalate the situation. I know that. And it's not because of racism. It's because they're fucking cops and they have guns and they're there to enforce the law. So you don't spout off and escalate a situation unless you're trying to become a martyr. But what this is really about, that's what people want you to think it's about. What it's really about is jobs and the economy. The Democrats, they say they're your friends, but they use you. Milwaukee has had Democratic leadership for what seems like forever, and nothing has changed because they don't like you. End of story. You've been taken for granted, given just enough to starve on, because that's what liberal white people want. They want you at their beck and call like a hungry dog. Now, Trump and the new right or this movement that's happening right now, it's about giving people opportunity and jobs. It's about leveling the playing field. I guarantee you, if the economy was better and people had to go to work the next day, you wouldn't have people out there lighting a gas station on fire. It's bullshit. Okay, now let's speed round through some of these death threats. Now, I have to admit the death threats are getting a little light as of recently. This week especially, I only got a handful of death threats. So I don't know what's going on. It seems like a lot of liberals are just responding with "fuck you" or "eat shit." But here are the few death threats I got. I got via email this week. Someone told me, "I'm going to hit you in my Acura." Humble brag. "I'm going to gun you down. I'm going to rape your mama." Always, always, always with the rape. Okay, let's look at the racial stuff. Again, I'm only half Hispanic, but that doesn't stop the hill dogs and shills from responding with absolute racism. It's a liberal thing. Okay, so this week in the email, I got called the following names. I got called a beaner, a greaser, a border monkey, a Taco Bowl loving faggot, a pool digger, mexcrement, and of course, my favorite, rivernig. So those are all the racial slurs that I got this week. And oh yeah, as always, the show's number one fan. She emails every day, and we read one of her emails on the show every episode, Debbie. Debbie writes, she emails in, "Hey Mark, I heard you talking with Roger Stone on your show. Two faggots just sitting around arguing over who gets to suck Donald Trump's dick first. You're all a bunch of homos." As always, Debbie, sassy and classy. I actually had that conversation with Roger Stone. I remember it pretty well, and I don't think that came up in our conversation. I'm pretty sure, I had the conversation. I listened back to it once, but I don't remember talking about that. I just wonder what kind of crazy psychosexual version of MAGAPod is going on in her head. So thank you, Debbie. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in every single day. It's a joy to read your emails. Okay, so let's talk about massive change in this country. Not Obama kind of change. Let's talk real change. Let's talk about really shaking up the establishment. So Roger Stone last week didn't mention anything about Trump's whatever. Roger Stone last week said Trump winning was a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. And I believe he's 100% right. But that doesn't just stop at the top with Trump. We need to be fighting for Donald Trump-like candidates down the tickets. Like my guest today, Dr. Kelli Ward. She is running for Senate against five-term senator and noted Trump criticizer John McCain. Now, a Ward win could change everything. It would put the current GOP base on notice for their never Trump actions and bullcrap. It would also affect the remaining primaries across the country. This would show that an anti-establishment candidate in the Senate or in the House could actually unseat a sitting senator or congressman. And it also, the bigger thing it shows, it previews what the 2018 midterms are going to look like all over the political landscape. I think you're going to see on the left, you're going to see a lot of Bernie Sanders-ish kind of people running for Democratic primaries. And then on our side, you're going to see a lot of Kelli Ward style or Donald Trump style Republicans running across the board. There's definitely a shift. This election cycle definitely marks a shift in ideology, and you're going to see a lot of it in 2018. But for now, we have that candidate here and now. And so for the first time on this show, we're actually going to talk to someone who's actually running for public office, who's running for a major public office, Kelli Ward, who's running for the Senate seat in Arizona against John McCain. Now, it's so imperative that we do our part to help her defeat an old-school, out-of-touch globalist like John McCain. So without further ado, let's have a conversation with Dr. Kelli Ward, the next senator from the great state of Arizona.
Arizona politician that's known for being mean. His name's John McCain. I haven't seen the attack ad, but somebody did send me something on Facebook that said, "Ooh, I saw the I hate Kelly video on TV." So I'm excited to kind of see it because I haven't seen his meanness. But I mean, he's willing to stoop to anything in order to stay in Washington D.C. First I'm a liberal, then I'm too conservative, then I'm on the fringe. I mean, he's gone so far to call me a racist, and his people have actually equated me to a prostitute. Please. I mean, and it has been going on. It's been going on the entire time I've been in this race. Before my feet hit the ground, on the day that I announced back in July of last year attack ads were coming out. And they've been on television since April, which is almost unheard of. And what that tells everybody, what should tell everybody is there's one threat to John McCain and to the establishment and to the insiders. And that threat is Dr. Kelli Ward, because I'm bringing my well-educated, well-spoken, down-to-earth, Constitution-loving personality and persona full force on John McCain. And that's why he's going to lose in this primary, and that's why I'm going to win the general.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, for a while there, he has all these attack ads, but he himself, the way he acts in public is like this is no big deal, that this is going to be a surefire win. But then privately, he's emailing his donors, he's emailing Republicans all throughout the state, kind of begging for money. I mean, this is for a guy who Roger Stone last Friday, I mean, he made a pretty strong claim. He said, if you talk about the Clinton Foundation, you should look into McCain. I mean, we talk about a guy who has access to a lot of dirty money, and yet he is begging money to supposedly stop Ann Kirkpatrick. But why is he needed all of a sudden now? He talks about the deadline for the primary.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely running scared. I mean, we were supposed to have a debate on Saturday, and he didn't show up. He sent a surrogate who was soundly thumped by me and by the people that were in the audience, about 150 people that weren't all my supporters. They were people who just showed up. They wanted to see head-to-head matchup of Dr. Kelli Ward and John McCain. And he doesn't want to bring to light the 80-year-old professional politician who's been in Washington, D.C. for almost 40 years versus a young, vibrant, energetic physician, mom, military wife, somebody who has a proven record in the Arizona State Senate of being extremely effective. He can't stand up about his record because his record is dismal. His record is basically a liberal record, tax hikes, bailouts, spending, amnesty, liberal judges. The list goes on and on and on. And you're exactly right. Roger Stone's right. If you're going to talk about the Clinton Foundation, you have to talk about the McCain Institute. Many of those same donors that are donating to Hillary Clinton and her foundation and her family and lining her pockets are donating to the McCain Institute to do just the same thing with John McCain.
I think
it includes Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia and George Soros. So if that doesn't ring some bells, I don't know what would.
It's I think a lot of people don't know that on the national stage that there's a lot of shady stuff going on with it, and it has been for quite a while with the John McCain. I know there's been a lot of people who try to retire McCain. I have a feeling that this time it's much different, just because of the political climate. What do you think is different this time as opposed to last time?
People are fed.
And I'll definitely say you're definitely the strongest candidate who's run up against McCain. I mean, before we've seen good candidates come up against McCain, but I mean, this is a guy who's kind of almost Arizona royalty at this point, and he flaunts around. He acts like it when he takes these positions that are not in line with Arizona values. So, what do you think is different this time around?
Well, he definitely does see himself as above the people. I want to get back to government of, for, and by the people. And the first thing we have to do to be able to do that is elect someone who is of the people. He does flit around as though he is royalty. Heck, he had John Kasich come out and say, if John McCain wants a lifetime appointment to the Senate, we should just give it to him. This is a man who ran for the president of the United States who's saying that we in America should have lifetime appointments of politicians to rule over us. We've gotten pretty far gone whenever you look at the establishment and their arrogance about their right to rule over us. And I think that's what's different this time. People are fed up. They're angry. They're frustrated. They're disappointed. They're disgusted with Washington, D.C., disgusted with the insider class, disgusted with the political elite. And John McCain is the ultimate representative of that political elite class. He's the ultimate establishment insider. He's the incumbent of all incumbents. Of course, he's become the champion of compromise and the maverick of mediocrity. And that's what people can see. The people that were in the audience in that debate, they know whenever John McCain's surrogate says, John McCain's going to secure the border, they say, he's been there almost 4 decades and he hasn't done it. We don't believe it. We aren't buying your baloney. And so that's why this time we have a competent, qualified, capable person who's running against John McCain in Kelli Ward. And, he can't stand up to the pressure. I hope people will join me, KelliWard.com, KelliWard.com, Kelly with an I, because I'm going to be a conservative champion for Arizona and for America in Washington, D.C.
Now, let me ask you this. You brought up immigration. It's so important because this is a huge issue with Trump supporters, and it's a huge issue with people all across the country right now. And I know in Arizona, I'm an Arizonan. You are. This is.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just a concept for us. This is real life. It's what we have to deal with on a daily basis. If you live in anywhere you live in Arizona, but if you live in Phoenix, I mean, I'm personally from the west side of Phoenix, and you can see the areas that have gone downhill over the past 15 years. I mean, the past 20 years. It's sickening. So I mean, with nationally, it's a concept to people, but to us, it's a reality that we have to live with. So when you hear someone like McCain, who previously said, "Build the dang wall," and you hear other Arizona politicians who've repeated the same kind of rhetoric, but then they don't show up.
They show up. They show up on the other side.
Exactly.
They show up with the open borders crowd, with the people who want amnesty, with the Gang of Eight. So they show up. They just don't show up for us. They show up for the radicals. They show up for the extremists. They show up for the extremely left-leaning progressives who believe we should have a one-world, completely open border society like George Soros touts, like Hillary Clinton touts, and like John McCain touts. He did the last time he ran. He said, "Build the dang fence." And then what did he do? Heads up the Gang of Eight. People are sick of it. They want somebody who sticks to their guns. That's why Donald Trump has become such an amazing nominee for us, for our party. I support Donald Trump 100%. Unlike John McCain, who will say, "Well, I support the nominee," kind of tepidly. I've never heard him say he supports Donald Trump as a person or his policies. I've heard him make a lot of excuses about how he needs to educate Donald Trump about the reality of Washington, D.C. and how things should be. But I can tell you that the people here in Arizona want a secure border and they want to stop illegal immigration. I'll tell you that this woman right here, Dr. Kelli Ward, is ready to mix the mortar to fix the border. I think people are ready to join me to do just that. We have to we have to secure the border before we clean up the mess that has been created by John McCain and his cronies with the open border and the massive illegal immigration that's come in and affected our state in every aspect. Healthcare, education, public safety, corrections, the economy. Our very American fabric is under attack. And John McCain is inviting it in with his invade the world, invite the world foreign policy that he shares significantly with Hillary Clinton.
Let me ask you this: with McCain, and because he's practically a never Trumper. I mean, he says it now, but it's always lukewarm. It's not real support. I mean, everybody knows it's kind of very tepid. So when you see McCain and you see a lot of these other never Trumpers, and you just see this kind of, at this point, are they just enabling Hillary Clinton, or is it that bad, or are they just, do they not get it? I mean, I guess that would be the nice way to maybe think, or are they just so tied into the eliteness of their position that they don't see the reality, or maybe they don't want to see the reality?
Oh, they're so tied into the eliteness. That is the crux of the issue. And they would much rather have Hillary Clinton, who's part of their global tuxedo club, to be at the head of this country. They understand that her agenda is theirs. I put out memes and a lot of things on Facebook, Kelli Ward for Arizona on Facebook, that say he's with her. John McCain is with Hillary Clinton. He's called Hillary Clinton a rock star. She's called him her favorite Republican. I can promise you, and I can promise the listeners to this podcast, send me to Washington and Hillary Clinton will never name me as her favorite Republican. So, it's got to be done. We've got to have people who are willing to stand up to the globalists, stand up to the people who want to create government dependency in minority communities, to the people who are seeking to allow people to come into our country who potentially want to do us harm without being able to adequately vet them. There are so many things that have to be done. And Donald Trump is going to need legislative partners in the House and in the Senate to be able to carry forward the agenda that people want to be able to make America great. And to make America great again. We are going to have somebody who's going to put policy forward to secure the border, to make the military strong, to build up the economy, to fix the tax code, to finally fix the Veterans Administration that is in a shambles on the watch of the most well-known veteran in this country, John McCain. We've got to have a significant change and send that message.
Well, let me talk to you about that, because I think that's what a lot of Trump supporters are missing in this, is that if Trump wins, that's great. But if we don't have down ticket support with Republicans who share the same values, we're going to be in the same quagmire we've been in the past 8 years. Nothing is going to get done, or nothing of significance is going to get done. And we saw this with Paul Nellon in his fight against Speaker Ryan, and it was unfortunate. But it almost seems like that was important because it was a speaker's position. But this is almost even twice as important because this is a Senate seat. Yeah. How could you help Donald Trump, in his first term, if you're the senator from Arizona?
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring my extremely effective record with me to Washington. I was an extremely effective Arizona state senator. I didn't do that by being extreme partisan. I didn't do that by being fringe of any kind. I did it by bringing forth extremely beneficial policy ideas that became law. When I was in the state Senate the last year in 2015, 19 of my bills got signed into law. Now, for people who out there are listening, maybe they don't think that's a lot. Some people don't get any bills signed into law. Some get one or two, maybe in a session of 1 to 2 years. I got 19 in 1 year because I was able to bring policy forward that was common sense policy, that was good for people that are Republicans and Democrats. It doesn't matter. People, it was good for Arizona citizens and for the people of my district. And the people in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party I was able to get them to buy into the value of that policy and get it through both the Senate and the House and get it to the governor's desk and get it signed into law. Those bills were designed to shrink the size of government, to lower taxes, to lift the hand of government off the heads of small businesses and decrease regulation so they could thrive. I did welfare reform, education reform, and healthcare reform, things that people want in Arizona, things that people want in the United States. So I look forward to taking that experience and those abilities and those talents that I've been blessed with to Washington to work with President Donald Trump so that we can make America great again.
Now, let me ask you this. I know nationwide, the only kind of nationwide press it seems you get is kind of the McCain kind of smear machine. So, I know you because I'm here in Arizona, but could you take a moment to kind of tell the audience, especially the nationwide audience, who Kelli Ward is? The person, right, the politician, what you've stood for. I know you talked about it with your great work in the state house, but what kind of Republican are you as opposed to McCain?
Well, me in a nutshell. Here's a snapshot of me. I'm a military wife. My husband and I have been married 21 years. He's been in the military for 32. We are a very patriotic, pro-military, pro-National Guard and Reserve, pro-Arizona military assets family. We've got 3 awesome kids. They're 18, 20, and my stepson is 22. I'm a family physician by trade, which I think makes me an excellent legislator and statesman because my whole job as an adult has been about taking complex, sometimes life-threatening issues, breaking them down into manageable parts, and then putting together a plan so that the patient and I can have good outcomes. That's what we need in Washington. Instead, people are building things up to such a big, unmanageable state that people don't even know what they're voting for. We need someone who's going to break things down into manageable parts. And so I think being a family doctor has served me very well in the political arena. And then, of course, I'm a former Arizona state senator. So that's a little snapshot of me. Now, my priorities, I build my life on my faith, my family, and my profession. Those are things that cannot be taken away from me and are so very, very valuable. They're the things that allow me to run for office and not be afraid of my political career or afraid of John McCain. Some people have asked, are you afraid of John McCain? You know, if we've gotten to a place in our country where the people are afraid of our elected representatives, we are far gone. So I'm definitely not afraid of John McCain. Some of my pet projects or pet ideas are, I'm a small government, low taxes, strong military, personal responsibility, follow the Constitution candidate. I'm 100% pro-life, 100% pro-Second Amendment. I've been fighting fiercely to protect our privacy because technology is allowing for the taking of a lot of our information, but we have to fight against the federal government intruding on that privacy, and that's one of the biggest things that John McCain attacks me over is my support of the Constitution, because he's a Constitution bender, a guy who seeks to get around the Constitution. He thinks it's something pesky that he just needs to swat away. But I'll tell you that all the way back to Benjamin Franklin, when he said, if we sacrifice liberty in the name of security, we deserve neither. We're at that point in our country right now. We've got perceived security, and the government would like to take away some of our rights that are, our God-given rights, and we cannot allow it to happen. We have to get that information constitutionally.
Now, when we look at your race, we kind of see there's kind of two components. One, it would be a Kelli Ward win would be historic because you'd be the first female senator from the state of Arizona, and then also it would be putting the rest of the Republican Party on notice. And I think kind of Paul Ryan got a cop out of this because he got away clean. He wasn't held accountable for all his nonsense. So knowing that those are kind of the two prongs of what a Kelli Ward win could mean, and I want to talk about Kirkpatrick after this, but what would that mean to you personally to be the one to unseat McCain?
Well, there are times where I feel like I'm not just running against John McCain. I'm running against the entire GOP, insider, big government establishment that has developed an empire that they see crumbling around them with the frustration of the American people. And I think that it is time to send a message to Washington, D.C., to the insiders, to the politicos, to the people who write all the blogs and the papers in Washington that they hold more dear than the Bible or the Constitution. It's time to send that message, because when I win, it is going to allow other people who are normal, everyday people who might want to use their talents and their abilities and their blessings to serve their country to have the bravery to be able to do it. Because once that message is sent, there are going to be a lot of people put on notice. So either they're going to shape up or America is going to ship them out. And so, but to think that I'm the person that's going to be responsible for that, it is very daunting. But I'm more than willing to be fearless, to jump into this and to fight that battle, because I think it has to be fought. And not many people are willing or able to be able to fight that battle and carry that mantle. But I certainly am. I am a strong woman. I am a problem solver. I'm intelligent. I'm able to see the problems out before me and then come up with solutions that are good, not just for me, but for all of those around me. I'm a person that loves to use what I have for good. That's why I became a physician. I'm a caring, compassionate person that wants to take care of people. But I would never use my office and my power as a United States Senate to threaten people that if they didn't support me politically, that they might suffer the consequences that they could bring down on my head. And I think that John McCain is well known for having a vindictive spirit and negativism around him, and that's why people are fearful of him. And so I hope we can send that message to John McCain. We can make that history of retiring a guy like John McCain, who's been there for almost 4 decades, who was the presidential nominee for our party, but has fallen far from our platform, far from our principles. It's time to send the message to the insiders in the GOP, to the insiders in Washington, that we're not going to take it anymore.
Let me ask you this about the other. Are there any senators that you see currently in the Senate that you like, maybe Rand Paul or Mike Lee? Or are there any that you really like, or would those be two examples? I kind of think that you guys share similar values. I mean, you guys aren't totally the same, but you definitely share some similar traits or similar values.
Yes. Exactly right. I can't wait to get there to work with Mike Lee and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz too. And I know he's kind of on the outs with the Trump people right now, but he really has stood up for what his constituents sent him to Washington to do. And I hate to see the fuse going on between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, and the Donald Trump supporters and the Ted Cruz supporters, because really all of us want the same thing. We all want smaller government, constitutional government, to bring back values into our government. Those things are important, and I think that we have to be able to come back together. So I look forward to being there and standing with them. When Dr. Ron Paul endorsed me, and he doesn't give those out like candy, I really was honored, and I loved the picture in my mind, because he said she will carry the torch of liberty in Washington, D.C. I can't wait to be that torchbearer. I can't wait to shine a light on the murky, dim, probably untoward things that are going on in Washington, D.C. We, the people, deserve to know what's going on. It needs to be exposed, and I can't wait to be the light that is shown upon it, so that we can put this country back on the right track.
Now, I want to go back just to something we talked about at the beginning of our conversation, because this happens a lot in our state, and it's really offensive when you have a guy like John McCain, gentleman like John McCain, who's running for his 6th term. There's a debate that he does not show up to, and it's so amazing to me. And I remember reading about this in the Republic, but I didn't remember reading about that on Breitbart. I didn't remember reading about that on Regated. I didn't remember reading about it on any kind of you definitely wouldn't read it on any of the other mainstream, more liberal kind of rags. But could you tell us what that scene was like when you said there were over 100 Arizonans in the room ready to see you and John McCain debate, and he sends somebody from his campaign as his surrogate?
Yes, he sent a guy named Mark Busey, and I haven't actually been able to track down what he actually does. Someone told me he's a businessman in Phoenix, but I don't know what business. I have no idea. He did ask the Prescott mayor to be his surrogate first, but he backed out as well. For being so weak, there's a lot of men that are afraid of me. They're definitely afraid to stand up and face me face to face. And I'll tell you that the moderator was Mike Broomhead, and he told me I did an excellent job, that I'm very intelligent, and that he could definitely see me on the Senate floor. So, when he didn't show up, I was not surprised. Because John McCain doesn't want that contrast. He doesn't want people to see us head to head. He doesn't want to see a picture of him and me in the same room. I can tell you that. I've asked Robert Graham, as the chairman of the Republican Party, to set up a debate, because his job is to give Republicans in this state the opportunity to see who's out there, so that the Republican voters can choose their nominee. It's not Robert Graham's job to reelect incumbents. That is not Robert Graham's job. His job is to help Republicans get the best nominee that the voters want to see on the ticket. And so I asked him, and what he told me was, John McCain will never show up. Well, that's not my problem. If he refuses to show up, that's John McCain's problem. If he's too fearful to come and face Kelli Ward in a head-to-head debate, if he doesn't want the voters to be able to see and to question him about his record, and to question me about mine, and to see what the vision, our ideas of the vision of the future for our state and for our country might be. But Robert should call for that debate. We have plenty of people who are willing to host it. From John Hook on Channel 10 to Mike Broomhead. I'm sure you'd be interested in being involved in a process like that. And so there's no shortage of people who want to see the debate, but there's one guy who wants at all costs to prevent a debate, and that's John McCain.
Now, really quick, we talk about the McCain. Gosh, there's so much to get to there, but I want to talk about, because I feel like you're pulling so close, and I feel like there's a Republican swell under you, that I feel like you're going to be in this battle with Ann Kirkpatrick, and I want to be the first one to ask you about it. So when we look at Ann Kirkpatrick, she probably has more money earmarked for TV commercials than I've ever seen a politician have, and she seems like she runs for something every term. It almost seems like. And this is this isn't like a Gabby Giffords type of Democrat. This is like a Hillary Clinton kind of Democrat, just kind of a real. Give me your thoughts on Ann Kirkpatrick.
Well, I think that she's trying to pull the wool over the eyes of Arizona Republicans, because she likes to dress in denim and boots, and she wants them to believe that she's actually conservative, or that she's middle of the road. But she is a rubber stamp Obama Democrat who votes nearly 100% of the time with Obama's policies and the Democrat leadership. She is a reliable, progressive vote for the Dems, and Arizona is not ready for that. John McCain wants to create a fallacy that he's not on the, he's not there, that and I'm there, that Ann Kirkpatrick is going to beat me. There's not one poll out there that shows Ann Kirkpatrick that's ever been done yet that shows that Ann Kirkpatrick came out ahead of me. Now, the Democrats smelled John McCain blood in the water, and that's why they are investing so heavily in Arizona, because they know how vulnerable he is. And it's not Kelli Ward making him vulnerable. The person that made him vulnerable is John McCain. John Sidney McCain made himself vulnerable with his terrible votes, his terrible record, his maverick of mediocrity, where he delivers a few Republican votes to the Democrats. And that's why he's vulnerable in this primary, and why, if he were the nominee, he would be extremely vulnerable to Ann Kirkpatrick. Now, I take away her woman card. She's not going to be able to play the woman card against me. And so that pretty much neutralizes her, because she's got a terrible record. She brought us Obamacare. She flew the Mexican flag in a parade rather than the American flag. But the counts against her go on and on and on. And so, I've got an extremely, a wonderful record of doing great things for the people of the state of Arizona. And I think that people will see right through her. And I think they're seeing through the McCain fallacy that if he's not on the ticket, he's the only one that can beat Ann Kirkpatrick. That simply isn't true. If I can beat John McCain, the biggest DC dinosaur out there, the biggest insider out there, what would make anyone think that I couldn't beat Ann Kirkpatrick, who is like a speck compared to John McCain?
It would be such a, you can draw analogies between you beat McCain and then you face Kirkpatrick. She is like almost like Hillary Clinton reincarnated. I know she likes to cosplay she likes to dress up in her cowgirl outfit. And I think a lot of Arizonans, we see that. And we know it's play. We know it's pretend. We can tell when it's. I think Arizonans. Unlike you visit other states like New Mexico or Texas or California, a politician throws on a hat and a denim shirt, and it's a role to play. But I think Arizonans, it's kind of offensive to them, because actually there are a lot of people here who actually live that life. They're not dressing up just for play or for playtime. This is something that people build their lives on. So when you see. When you see that, you can't help but laugh, but it's also kind of really predatory. It's someone selling themselves as something they're really not.
Right. And John McCain and Ann Kirkpatrick are both politicians who are willing to say or do anything to try to get elected. I'll tell you that. They've both been in Washington. Ann Kirkpatrick's been in Washington. She's no newbie. She's no outsider. She's been in Washington, D.C. I think she's 65 or 66 years old. Her time has come and gone, and so has John McCain. It's time for the next generation to take the torch and to put this country back on the right track. I look forward to working with Donald Trump. I look forward to working with the people of Arizona. I look forward to having an open door policy where we have two-way communication. People can get with me on my website, KelliWard.com. Come on Twitter, Kelli Ward AZ. You have to remember it's Kelly with an I, though, because I'm going to be that conservative champion in Washington, D.C. for Arizona. I want AZ in D.C., not D.C. in AZ. So, and you've got to have that two-way communication, and neither one of them are willing to have it. Ann Kirkpatrick couldn't stand up to her own constituents about her Obamacare vote. And John McCain is nowhere to be found. I was interviewed today by the Times of London. So this is going international now. You're talking about national. It's going international now. And he said it's very, very difficult to find out John McCain's schedule at all. He said, and here I am sitting with you having a cup of coffee, just chatting like a normal person. Yes. That's what's wrong with government, that we're separated from our elected officials as though by a moat filled with snapping alligators. And so we've got to bring that two-way communication back so that we get the representative republic that our founders envisioned, and we put the country back and we make America great again.
Well, I know the Trump people are going to be behind you 100%. So they can follow you on Facebook and they can follow you on Twitter. I know you're an active tweeter, which is great. I love that when people actually tweet. I think what people don't realize is one of the great things about Trump, one of the great things about you is you can actually hear someone's thoughts, someone reacting in real time, like a real human being. And so
exactly.
So what can the Trump people do to help you? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, there's a lot of things that people can do. I mean, if you're in Arizona, of course, I need your vote. I need you to take 5 to 10 of your friends with you to the polls and make sure they vote for Kelli Ward. You can go on my website, KelliWard.com. There, if you push /volunteer, you can sign up to make phone calls. People can make phone calls every single day, all the way up until the primary, so that we get the word out and we continue to increase my name identification to the point where it needs to be. You can do it from home. You don't have to come to the office. You can do it from anywhere in the United States. So go to the tab, the KelliWard.com/ /volunteer and sign up to volunteer and say you want to do phone calls. Of course, donating money is very important. We got to raise money. John McCain, as you said, has more money than anybody. He's got tentacles in every pot of political money. But don't think anything's too small. $5 helps us buy a yard sign. $250 reaches 3,000 voters with a mail piece. Help us reach the people who need to be reached so that we can change Washington by changing the people we send there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelli Ward. I appreciate it so much. It means a lot to me because you're a candidate that I've been privileged to vote for in this primary season, and I think it's time. I think it's time for a change in Arizona, and I think it's a microcosm of the larger change that's happening in the Republican Party. And I think that I agree with you. I think you're going to be that champion, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much, Mark. It's great to talk to you, and I look forward to August 30th. Hey, we're having a party at the DoubleTree in Scottsdale. You know, people can come on out. We're going to be celebrating
I'll be there.
Changing Washington. So come on out.
I want to thank Kelli Ward for being my guest today. And full disclosure, I am an Arizona resident, registered Republican, and early voter. So I was so proud to cast my vote for Dr. Kelli Ward. I want to thank her. I want to thank her husband who helped set up the interview. I also want to thank the entire Ward team in Arizona. I'm rooting for you guys. Hashtag is Retire McCain. So please help her out in any way that you can. We need more conservatives like Kelli Ward, especially in the Senate. We can change this whole thing. August 30th. Now, I also want to thank show contributors, Robert Mullen, also Ross the Colonel, all my friends over at The Donald, and of course, I want to thank show producer and editor Lee Dean. So please check out MAGAPod.com. We've updated a few things. I got a few pictures up of the squad. We're a bit of a motley crew, so you can go take a look at our pictures. We look like a bunch of drug dealers, but you can go look at it. Lee looks professional. The rest of us look like maniacs. We also have all the show notes on the website. We have the download links. We have a media player so you can stream the show on the net. Also, please follow us on Twitter at MAGAPod, and you can also find us on Facebook. Just look up MAGAPod. And if you really love the show, if you really love what we're doing, please feel free to use the blue button on our homepage in the far right-hand corner that says Donate. Every little bit helps. We want to keep doing the show, but we do need your help. So thank you, Trumpire. Thank you to the Donald for having me on Reddit, the Donald on Reddit for having me for an AMA. It was a great and fun experience. And you crazy, uncontrollable centipedes and beautiful bastards who are part of the Discord AMA, you the real MVPs. So thank you so much. Thank you. The entire Trumpire. I am in your debt. The Donald, I am in your debt. Ross the Colonel, Robert Mullen, Lee Dean. These are the people and the groups that have supported the show and that make the show what it is. And of course, the one and only Donald Trump. But I want to thank everybody involved in the entire Trumpire for making the show the success that it has become. Thank you. So until next time,
stay nimble, navigators.